Hello, I'm Stalnaker with Hub Culture, and we're at the World Climate Summit in Durban, South Africa, against the backdrop of COP17. And right now joining me is John Morton, the Vice President of Investment Policy at OPIC, and Jigar Shah, the CEO of the Carbon War Room. We're going to have a little talk about the big picture. So, John, why don't we kick it off? You're with an organization that is having a big impact on renewable scaling and overseas investment into this sector. Tell us how you see things shaking out.
Well, absolutely. So first of all, OPIC, as you know, is the Overseas Private Investment Corporation. We're the U.S. government's development finance agency. And in the last year alone, we've more than tripled our volumes in investing in renewable resources in tough markets around the world. This isn't wind, offshore wind in England and large-scale solar in developed countries. This is countries that are emerging. And where we are helping push the envelope alongside U.S. corporate interests to expand into tough markets. And we've done over $1 billion worth of business on OPIC's accounts, which catalyzes generally about 2 times that amount of private sector investment.
So for every dollar that OPIC is putting in, there's $2 more coming out of the private sector.
That's the approximate leverage ratio that we've seen over our history. So from a relatively small 210-person U.S. government agency, we've seen probably $3 billion worth of investment come out in renewables alone in emerging markets just this past year. So it's a very impressive story.
It's amazing. And Jigar, big picture on your front. You guys are working on really in the private sector, working with private sector innovation. So how do you see this?
Well, the Carbon War Room is a global nonprofit, so we're a charity, but we do believe that this is the largest wealth creation opportunity on the planet. And so we're trying to figure out how to catalyze it and not just make incremental steps. And so what you found is, the IEA recently said that basically if we don't get on top of this problem in the next 5 years, we might as well, sort of give up. And what's interesting is that, last year for the first time, we did $187 billion worth of renewables and only $157 billion worth of fossil fuels and nuclear.
So is that the magic tipping point?
That is the tipping point. It's a tipping point, absolutely. And that's why India, South Africa, Namibia, Botswana, everyone is moving renewables. And the reason is because they control it. Right? You don't control coal because coal has to be imported from Indonesia, Mozambique, Australia. You don't control natural gas. You don't control nuclear because the materials have to come from other processing plants around the world. And so they want to do things that they can control, like the sun, the wind, the water, the biomass that's in their countries. And the intellectual property and the standards and the technology are now all available and ready to be deployed at scale.
So how do you guys see this working together? So you have the kind of governmental side and you have the non-governmental side.
Yeah. Well, let me just add on that. I think I want to piggyback on something Jigar mentioned. I mean, I think we see this as the most predictable economic transformation that will occur in this century, this transition to a low-carbon economy. It is full of opportunity. There are challenges, to be sure, but the opportunities are rife. And we're beginning to see, we're more than beginning to see, we're seeing the maturity of these opportunity-seizing companies that we're investing alongside. So I would expect over the next 2 to 3 years for this threefold increase that we've seen to continue, because we can't do a deal absent a corporate interest, and the corporate interests are kind of knocking down our door now to
so we're
to
talking
move in.
about public-private partnerships.
Every deal we do is a public-private partnership, and every deal is catalytic, and so we really do see our goal is to help mitigate risk for investors who are looking to expand into frontier markets in renewable energy, in addition to many other sectors. But the demand for the renewable energy financing that we're offering is far exceeding that of any other type of investment.
And just to put this in scale, I mean, I just think it's important because these numbers get big and they're going to get even bigger, but it matters. Everyone is predicting now that we're going to spend $3 trillion cumulative between now and 2020 to deploy renewables. $3 trillion.
Between now and 2020.
Yeah.
So that's
literally the next
now,
7.5 years.
Because if you're budgeting,
right? Exactly.
You're doing 2 to 4 year budgets.
And what OPIC has done in this last year is actually catalyzed new markets to be part of that $3 trillion, right? So some of that $3 trillion is already baked into Germany and Italy and Spain and the US and Japan and South Korea. But a lot of it is in India, South Africa, Thailand, Philippines, who are basically saying, we now see the price points at a point where we're actually willing to scale this at. India's goal is 20,000 megawatts, South Africa's is 5,000 megawatts, and they're moving very quickly to increase those goals going forward. So for me, this is going to be the largest job creator. I think the top 5% of people that graduate from university colleges are going to want to work in this industry, not in the coal, oil, and gas sector.
Right. So you guys, Carbon War Room talks a lot about gigaton level scale, which a gigaton is was once
tons.
described to me as you take all of Manhattan and you sort of go up, what, 3...
Oh, it's
very
massive,
high.
and so it'd have to go 20 times higher than the Empire State Building.
Yeah,
so
in
a box. Yeah,
that's a gigaton of carbon. So
yeah.
it's a huge amount of carbon, and these are the only types of kind of like scale decisions are the only things that are going to get to those types of changes. So where do you guys see, what is OPIC investing in that you guys are excited about, that you see opportunity with?
Well, I mean, we invest in every sector in the renewables market. We invest in wind and solar, biomass, biofuels, geothermal, and we're ramping up activities in all of those. What OPIC does not do, that I think organizations like Jigar's have been very helpful in forwarding and promoting, is take technology risk. At the end of the day, we take market risk. We're about helping proven technologies enter markets where they would not otherwise either have access or think about entering. We see that as very catalytic. We see it as important because these are markets that would otherwise build the next 100 megawatt coal facility, and are now, because of OPIC financing, they're diverting it to cleaner and greener and frankly more sustainable
and
measures.
The nuance here actually is, I mean, John's exactly right. So we take technologies that we know don't have technology risk, but the banks perceive technology risk, right? And so like things like solar hot water heating, things like renewable fuels, things like advanced industrial efficiency technologies, things like energy access for the poor. There's still a perception, like the integration of mobile phone technologies and power technologies to me is the largest trend that occurred this year. Right, and that is going to solve energy access problems for 543 million people around the world who have cell phones but no place to charge them at home. Right, so when we solve that problem because of this integration, the first banks are going to say, do we really trust money coming in from mobile phone payments? We're not sure about that. We're used to power purchase agreements guaranteed by sovereign governments, right? But building off of microfinance, building off of mobile phone payments, within the next few years, we think that the War Room can actually make this a safe investment so that OPIC can start putting billions of dollars behind that next generation as well. And then renewable fuels is huge. We have spent, I don't know, $10-20 billion in R&D money globally since the 70s on this sector, and it is now ready. The second, third, and fourth generations are now ready, and you're going to see aviation renewable fuels just leapfrog gasoline and diesel renewable fuels by 2020 because those customers, those aviation customers, are desperate for them. And then they will then catalyze gasoline and diesel next. And so huge $1 trillion opportunities, very exciting.
So it sounds like this is a discussion about the tipping point, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I thank you both for sitting down and having a chat with us. I'm Stan Stalnaker at COP17, and once again I'm with John Morton from OPIC and Jigar Shah from the Carbon War Room. Thanks very much, you guys. I think it's great to hear that maybe the tide is turning.
It's turning. Thank you.
Thanks.